You were born into a world that demanded your silence disguised as approval. From your earliest moments, the unspoken law was clear: conform, obey, perform. To seek approval is the primal need disguised as civility. But beneath that civility lies something darker, a slow death of the self. You learned early on that to be seen and loved, you must hide the parts of yourself that don't fit the mold. Your fears, your rage, your desires, all locked away behind a mask. This mask is the prison of approval. It's where your true self is suffocated by the collective's demands. The human psyche is complex, yet fundamentally wired for connection. But this connection is often shallow, a facade maintained by social rules and expectations. We trade authenticity for acceptance, mistaking approval for survival. But here's the truth that shakes the foundation of your world. The endless quest for approval is the ultimate form of self-betrayal. You are trapped not by others, but by your own need to be liked, to be accepted, to be safe. It steals your voice, your authenticity, your power. The irony is brutal. The more you seek approval, the more approval you need. It becomes a vicious cycle. You lose touch with your inner compass, becoming a mirror reflecting others' desires instead of your own truth. You become fragmented, ghost-like, living not a life, but a performance. The cost is not only personal. This addiction to approval distorts society itself. It breeds conformity, fear, and silence. It turns potential revolutionaries into passive bystanders. It encourages shallow connections instead of meaningful bonds. The masses become disconnected from their inner truths, parroting beliefs handed down to them instead of discovering their own. Breaking free starts with awareness, realizing this approval addiction runs deep, unconscious, a survival instinct inherited from times when belonging meant life or death. Our brains are wired to avoid rejection because prehistoric exclusion was a death sentence. But modern life has changed, yet the wiring remains, imprisoning you in fear and conformity. This war inside your mind is the battleground Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating your true self beyond social conditioning. Individuation demands facing the shadow, the hidden, repressed, chaotic parts of your soul that society forces you to bury. The shadow is not evil, but unlived potential, raw energy and truth buried beneath layers of shame and fear. The shadow is where your deepest creativity and strength reside. It is the dark wellspring from which authentic power flows. But it is terrifying because it requires you to face parts of yourself you were taught to fear. Your rage, your vulnerability, your contradictions. Only by embracing these can you begin to live honestly. When you keep seeking approval, you deny your shadow. You silence your instincts, your creativity, your rage. You fragment yourself, lose your center, and slowly become a hollow echo of who you might have been. But when you confront the shadow, you start to reclaim yourself. You accept your darkness, your imperfections, and suddenly the mask is no longer needed. Shadow work is not a single act, but a lifelong journey. It requires courage and relentless honesty. It demands that you look in the mirror and face your fears, your desires, and your hidden truths without flinching. Your mind begins to clear as the endless need for others' approval fades. Boundaries strengthen. You no longer apologize for existing. Your relationships shift. You attract people who respect you, not just tolerate your mask. Your choices reflect your deepest values, not the safest path to acceptance. Freedom comes quietly. It's not rebellion or chaos, but the courage to be vulnerable, to say no when you mean no, and to walk your own path even if that means walking alone. This freedom terrifies because it means risking rejection, loneliness, and misunderstanding. But it is the only way to true power. True power is found not in the approval of the masses, but in the approval of yourself. When you stop seeking permission to be, you step into the fullness of your humanity. You reclaim your voice, your mind, and your life. The chains fall away, and you become whole. Understand that society, culture, and even technology today fuel the hunger for approval. Social media thrives on likes, comments, and shares, modern currencies of acceptance. But these digital affirmations are shallow reflections, distractions that deepen the void inside. They push you further from your authentic self, leading to anxiety, depression, and alienation. Breaking this cycle means reclaiming your attention and mental space. It means turning off the noise and listening to the quiet voice within. That voice might be small and tentative at first, but it grows stronger as you give it room. This transformation is not easy. It requires breaking down old beliefs, facing loneliness, and letting go of who you thought you should be. But on the other side lies a life of purpose, clarity, and real freedom, where your choices are yours alone and your mind is your own. Embracing this journey means embracing solitude, not as punishment, but as a sacred space for growth. Solitude lets you hear your true desires and fears without distraction. It teaches you resilience and self-reliance. In this solitude, you build discipline, the courage to consistently choose authenticity over comfort. Discipline is not about rigid rules, but about loyalty to your own truth. It is the muscle that allows you to resist the seductive call of approval and to walk your own path. The great thinkers like Nietzsche, Jung, and others recognize this lonely road. Nietzsche famously said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Your why, your purpose, becomes the anchor that holds you steady when the world demands you conform. But discipline alone is not enough. Vision must guide it. Vision is the light in the darkness, the reason you endure rejection, loneliness, and confusion. Vision is your deepest sense of meaning, a calling beyond the shallow validation of others. It is the fire that fuels your rebellion against the herd. Without vision, discipline can become mere stubbornness or self-punishment. But with vision, every act of courage becomes a step toward your true self. Vision keeps you aligned with your values and dreams, reminding you that freedom is the prize. The mind that breaks free from approval's chains sees the world differently. It notices the invisible rules that bind others and understands the cost they pay. It learns compassion for those still trapped, while knowing it cannot live by their rules anymore. You may be afraid of losing people, of isolation, or of failure. These fears are real, but they are not stronger than your desire to live authentically. The moment you choose your truth over approval, you cross a threshold. You become a rebel, not for chaos, but for creation. This rebellion is not loud or aggressive. It is quiet, steady, and unyielding. It is the refusal to live a fragmented life. It is the decision to think for yourself, feel for yourself, and act for yourself. The journey is long and winding. You will fall, you will doubt. But every step away from approval is a step toward freedom. Every time you say no to others' expectations, you say yes to your soul. So, embrace the discomfort, face the loneliness, fight the urge to conform. For in this struggle lies the greatest gift, the power to live a life truly your own. But remember, this path is not for the faint of heart. It is the path of the outsider, the visionary, the rebel. It requires a darkness within to be met with equal courage, a confrontation with the self that many fear. This is why society fears people with purpose. They threaten the comfortable illusions that keep the masses in line. When you think independently, you shake the foundations of collective beliefs. When you refuse approval, you challenge the status quo. This makes you a threat to those who benefit from conformity and control. The true courage is to keep moving forward, even when the world pushes back. To keep thinking, questioning, and creating, even when it's easier to fall in line. Because the mind that thinks freely is the mind that will change the world. So, now you've awakened, but what next? This is the most dangerous part of the journey, the moment after you shed the mask, after the illusions fall away. You see the world more clearly, and what once comforted you now repels you. The fake smiles, the empty conversations, the rituals of approval, praise, and status, all of it becomes noise. It feels as if you've been exiled from the world you once knew, and in many ways, you have. Because once you begin to truly think for yourself, Once you begin to listen to your inner voice over the herd, you become fundamentally incompatible with the systems designed to control you. This exile is not always physical, it's psychological, spiritual. You may find yourself sitting in the same rooms, surrounded by the same people, but it's like watching ghosts act out a play they never wrote. Everything becomes performative. Conversations lack substance. The world feels shallow. And that's when the temptation creeps back in, to put the mask back on, to just play along. But you can't unsee what you've seen. It's here, in this void between old identity and new self, that most people turn back. Because the unknown is terrifying, and being truly free means being fully responsible. You can no longer blame society, your parents, your past. You must carry the weight of your choices. You are no longer a victim of the system. You are a sovereign being, but sovereignty is lonely at first. The herd rejects those who don't move with it. They will call you arrogant, delusional, even dangerous. Not because you are wrong, but because you are no longer controllable. You no longer validate their illusions. Your presence alone becomes a mirror they cannot look into without confronting their own imprisonment. And still, you must walk forward. You are no longer seeking to fit in. You are seeking to become. Individuation is not an aesthetic. It is a violent transformation. You must tear yourself away from the collective mind and return to the source, your own psyche. Carl Jung believed that this process of becoming whole required confrontation with the unconscious. You do not fix yourself. You integrate. You learn to live with your contradictions. You make peace with your flaws. You stop pretending to be pure and start aiming to be whole. This is the soul's rebellion, not against the world, but for the self. Think of the modern world, the constant buzz of information, the flood of opinions, the seductive glow of validation, all engineered to keep you looking outward. Every platform is a marketplace of attention. Every scroll demands a piece of your soul. But you must learn to sit with yourself in silence, to think, to feel, to remember. Solitude is not isolation. It is initiation. It is where you go to meet your shadow, your pain, your unlived life. Most people avoid it because it means facing the question, who am I, beneath the roles and approval? And often, the answer is silence, an empty space. But this emptiness is not a curse. It is a beginning. It is where you plant the seeds of authenticity. The person you are becoming is forged in this silence. You are not building a persona. You are uncovering your essence. Discipline becomes your anchor. Not a rigid schedule, but a daily act of self-loyalty. The discipline to think before reacting. The discipline to speak truth, even when it costs you approval. The discipline to reject what feels easy in favor of what is real. This discipline, combined with vision, makes you unstoppable. The more you walk this path, the more you see the hidden order behind the chaos. You start to realize that what you once feared, judgment, rejection, being misunderstood, was never about them. It was always about your relationship to yourself. Now, you are unshaken. You don't need validation. You don't crave attention. You are no longer reactive. You are responsive. You are intentional. People notice. They might not know what changed, but they feel your energy. You walk differently. You speak with clarity. You listen without trying to please. You've become rare, because the rarest person in the world is someone who is free, not famous, not successful, free. Free to think, to speak, to choose. And because freedom is threatening, they may try to pull you back, shame you, guilt you, laugh at you. But deep down, they respect it. Because in a world of copies, the original always stands out. And perhaps most powerful of all, your authenticity gives them permission. Permission to begin their own journey. You become a lighthouse, not by preaching, but by being. You don't seek followers. You light fires. This is your rebellion. This is the new path, not paved by approval or consensus, but by inner clarity and courage. The rebellion is quiet, unshakable, relentless. And it begins the moment you stop asking, do they approve of me? And start asking, am I true to myself?